Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
I'm Burn Victim Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are here talking about dark matter. We are on episode 8, which, as we always like to explain to people when we get to an episode like this is the pentultimate
So
episode.
many T's.
So that means we've got one more before the finale. And Tom, I feel bad about the burns that you've suffered, but I really enjoyed this episode. I thought this was well done. I feel like 7 and 8, the show is getting stronger, and I'm interested to know what the finale is going to do because I think there are dozens, if not infinite, options that we can have based on the show that we're watching. Did you enjoy this one?
Yeah, to me it just completely went off the rails. Like I think we got the teaser for it essentially at the tail end of the last episode, and say, okay, well, what's going to go on here? Like we have another Jason in the world, and now essentially I think in this episode we're getting at least 10 different Jasons, all in like various forms of the original Jason, kind of our Jason Prime, which I definitely want to dive in and kind of see if make sure I understand what's essentially going on. But I'm with you about the ending, like where they're leaving this and setting up for a finale. I don't know how you land this plane. I don't know what you do because this world certainly isn't safe anymore.
Well, I'm hoping the season finale is a court procedural where it's just all of the Jasons fighting for custody of Daniela and maybe Charlie. Like some of them are like, I'll just take Daniela, Charlie. I don't really. Actually, all of these versions would want Charlie too. So
Yeah.
it's just like each one of them on the witness stand giving their account and why they should own Daniela, and what it's going to end up being is the court obviously is going to side with all of them, and she's just going to have to split her time between. I counted 5 Jasons. How many Jasons are we dealing with at this point?
Oh, there are at least 10 in this episode. I think I watched a video where they actually kind of clocked all the different versions of Jason. We don't spend a lot of time with a lot of them, but there are at least 10. And I couldn't help but think of the Spider-Man meme where they're all just like sitting there pointing at each other.
Sure.
I was really hoping they would recreate that.
Sure. Yeah. I'm up to date with memes. I know what they are. You say there's 10 Jasons, but by the end of this episode, Tech Jason's murdered roughly 8 of them. So we're back down to 2. Is that... There's a lot of murder in this episode for a guy that was like, how are you going to explain those bodies? Like, he's certainly going to get the least amount of time. The court is going to be like, you murdered 3 of yourself. You only get every other weekend, and you have to meet in a public place. And it's got to be a Peter Piper pizza.
Yeah, I mean, you can hide a body, I guess, if you kill somebody or like just throw it in the middle of the woods or something. But if it's yourself, if it gets found, like that's gonna be a bit awkward. So he's struggling here.
They're going to be like, oh, we found this dead body. He's going to be like, I'm fine. Look at me. I'm alive.
Yeah,
I don't know.
great.
I'm just, that version of me is just sleeping. Long sleep. I know you're not a murderer in real life, Tom, because of the way you casually said it's easy to dispose of a body. You just hide it or put it in the woods.
Under
That's
a
what
rug or something?
no murderer has ever said. If you had gotten real detailed about like pigs or throwing it in a ditch and covering it with lime, then I would have thought maybe you'd done some murdering. But
I
I
am.
think
I mean, I am in the middle of the woods right now, recording a podcast on a family vacation. So
yes, I'm glad that one of us takes the time out of family vacations to do it, and the other one doesn't. So
yours was a little more epic, though.
Yeah.
You were on like a tropical vacation. I'm just up in the woods here in Arizona.
that's true. That's true. Well, let's get through this so you can get back to something you enjoy, which is not talking to me remotely. All right, we start this episode with Daniela going to, because she received a phone call from, had we met Mindy before? We had not met Mindy, right?
No.
This is supposedly
I think
Ryan's beau.
She was mentioned, I think, in the last episode, but yeah, the character's first time we're seeing her.
Okay. So Daniela has gone to go check on Ryan, who, based on the last episode, is not the Ryan we have come to know and love. It is some sort of mechanic who is just enjoying life, enjoying the finer things through God's grape, the alcohol. And so, no judgment here.
God's great.
Tech Jason is attacked by Jason 3.
I don't know if you could give them numbers. Like, essentially, they're just not Prime Jason and not Tech Jason.
Okay,
Essentially.
so not Teacher Jason, not Tech Jason. I appreciated the foreshadowing of the knife. They're like, "Hey, we've got you this cool curved knife." I find knives in knife stores very funny because they're like, "Listen, this knife, if you ever need to stab 3 people, it's got this feature on it, which allows you to stab 3 people without." And you're like, "Who's buying these? How many stabbings are going on in the world? How often? Never in my life had I."
Chicago.
Yeah, well, that's shots fired, I guess. Anyways, don't get stabbed on your vacation. I'll feel really bad.
Yeah. I mean, so is your thought this is the Jason we saw in the pawn shop or not pawn shop?
It's one of them because it's got that like wicked curve knife, and then we have another guy that's got a different knife. I'm really mad at myself that I'm like clued in on the weapons talk of this, especially because I'm not a knife guy. Unless it's obviously samurai swords. You've seen my office. I've got samurai swords all over them, given to me by my sensei when I became a purple belt. But I
don't think that's right, though. I feel like it was Prime Jason. Like, when we were first in that gun store, he tries to get the gun, ends up getting the knife and the mace. He does get that kind of curved knife. But I think this is just essentially another Jason that has the same idea, probably went to maybe that pawn shop or a different pawn shop, whatever, to get a knife and chose the same one.
Because no. I'm not. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that 100%. Yes.
Because if this is the guy, if this is our Prime one, they got the mace. The idea you wouldn't start with the mace first and then try to knife a guy, it was not properly planned out.
Right. He should have just gotten one of those R horns, that you, like Lucille Bluth got in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
First I poke him, then actually, I don't know that I can repeat that quote from Arrested Development. Look it up, kids, and then tell your parents about it. All right, so, well, I thought Teacher Jason got both a knife and mace.
Yes, he did.
So, but this guy gets his head beaten in, right? This guy is killed.
Yep.
Once again, Tech Jason is just racking up the bodies, and I have a question in the outline about how do you get rid of a body, but you already kind of exposed your body getting rid of. I know what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't leave it in a public bathroom, and just lock the door. There are cameras everywhere. I feel like also I would not put it in the trunk of a car and let my learner's permit kid drive the car around. All these seem like terrible ideas, but I did like the amount of stress and tension they put on the story as we did it. Don't you just have to take the bodies to the box? And don't we reseal the box at this point? Like, those seem to be our options. Fill it with bodies and then seal it. And no one's ever going to question you. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's the question now, too. Are all these Jasons that are in this world now, like, they essentially had to have come into this world within the last day or two? Because I think when he talks to that one Jason later, he says, like, he'd already been here for a day. But they couldn't get in until
the concrete was broken.
Exactly. When Tech Jason opened it up, threw Ryan into the other one, and then kind of opened it up. So I do like that idea, too, that it's not like these Ryans have been like running, or not Ryans, but these Jasons have been running wild for like the past like week, and now they're finally making their move. They are all just literally getting here at the same time, and now just chaos is ensuing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you could argue.
I also just love the idea of it's the same. It's different versions of essentially the same guy. So like the hotels he stays at, the places he goes, the like beer he orders at the bar, like everything is just the same, which makes sense. So it's not necessarily a coincidence that he keeps running into himself because he has the same thoughts about all these different places.
Right. I also like the cool storytelling of these guys would not be back in his world if he didn't have to cover his Ryan crime and like breaking down the concrete and going to kidnap different universe. God's grape drunk Ryan has now opened up this world to be invaded by all these other Jasons. So I do like that storytelling. This is going to get real confusing as we go through all these. So just bear in mind this is a new world for all of us.
Yes.
And
a whole new world, if you will.
Yes, exactly. We have Daniela and Mindy are detoxing Ryan, and Daniela is on this really quickly. in terms of, like, I don't know if she knows what's happening, but I guess we've seen that she's suspicious of Tech Jason this whole time, so she's not really, but she goes to, like, is this guy the guy that got you, drunk and brought you out here? She went to that really quickly, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It was a bit fast and how she kind of gets this, but we've seen so many little breadcrumbs get dropped about her being suspicious.
Right.
I think it was that line maybe previous about him falling off the wagon or something since high school. She takes that as meaning, okay, like something's kind of going up, and that's, I think, why she essentially goes over there and confronts her. He does make the comment about, like, being a mechanic, and she was apparently his customer, or her customer, or his customer at some point, which I thought was kind of funny. So that was how he knew Daniela in his world.
Right.
But I do feel like there was a lot of Honda Civic talk in this episode, which I was kind of bummed about because, we're Toyota RAV4 people.
Well, they drive the RAV4 in this episode, but they talk about the Honda Civic. So you've got to wonder if Honda didn't come in like a late sponsorship. But then I want to point out that one of the Jasons that hits them with the car is in a Toyota. Oh no, it's the
Camry or a Corolla.
Camry, right? Or a Corolla? I don't know. It wasn't the sweet Camry Sports Edition that some people drive, but. So Toyota made a play in this episode as well. This is Car Talk with Tom and Julian. You can listen to us on NPR, the Click and Clack brothers.
Those cars everybody loves to talk about. Big fan clubs, Civics and RAV4s. I do have to mention, though, what an incredible haircut that Tech Jason gave to Ryan here, right? Like, it was just perfectly coiffed. It wasn't messed up at all.
Have you cut your own hair ever?
Oh, no. Gosh, no.
You've never given it a try?
I guess I've shaved my head before, like just with a pair of, beard trimmers essentially, and just give myself a shaved head, but never actually like the size, try to blend. I believe you have, though. How does it go?
I have, and my hair's very forgiving, and honestly, it took a little while, but I got it down. But trying to cut trying to cut my son's hair, which I've done on the rare occasion, it is certainly a skill. That's why haircutting people are licensed. That's why they have to go through that 6-month extensive training course to get licensed to cut hair. Because otherwise we'd all just be walking around like those pumpkin pie haircutted freaks in Dumb and Dumber. All right. The hotel room meeting, or the hotel hallway meeting that leads to a foot chase that rivals the Italian Job or the French Connection. This will go in the annals of, I hope I'm using that word right, of chases in cinema. This was like a speed walk. This was like, why are we not catching each other? Who meets in the hallway? Is it Teacher Jason and like random... the Jasons that all look like longshoremen, fishermen, confused me as well. Like, I didn't know what was happening.
Well, the idea of, I like the costuming and they give one guy like a burn on half his face. Like, there's all these like little bits
pretty aggressive limp. Yeah. Like that are different. So essentially they went through a wrong door, or that one that was kind of wearing essentially like the Christmas sweater or whatever, like maybe he went to that same like snowy world and kept that jacket on, because I think we did see our Jason in that at some point. Yep.
But yeah, I thought it was kind of funny, but I think it's one of those Jasons, one of the
it's a new Jason
following our Prime Jason, right? Because Prime Jason goes into the bar, that's how he essentially escapes, and then runs into seemingly the sailor Jason with the beady scar in his head, and that's where they kind of have the talk. Right.
The guy that just saw the perfect storm and made it.
Yeah.
I was clocking, and really this is because my spouse is smarter than me. She mentioned that the nice black coated Jason was Teacher Jason, and that's kind of how I tried to track him in this one. So so foot chase, very exciting, like Tom Cruise Mission Impossible level foot chase. They're running across the tops of buildings. Something tells me Joel Edgerton did his own stunts during this foot chase. They didn't use any stunt doubles, which is crazy. Also crazy, the body in the tarp in the garage, and Charlie being like, hey, let's get us some deep dish pizza. I don't know. There was a lot of deep dish pizzas. He threw out a place, and I wondered if Chicagoans were like, oh, they went to Brazoltes or whatever he says, where he's
Yeah.
I don't know how Chicago this show is like in term not being from there. If any of our listeners are from Chicago, we'd love an email, teambingepodcast@gmail.com. How Chicago is this show? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I mean, they mentioned deep dish pizza. Is that's their thing? So.
Right, and you have to eat it with a fork and a knife, if I've learned anything
Yeah.
from...
They did end this episode at the Bean. Man, another Chicago staple. So.
Oh yeah, when they said the Bean, I was like, is this a tourist video for like to get us to all? It's gonna do one of those like visit Chicago. There's not that many shootings. Like that's their tagline nowadays.
Less shootings.
Less shootings than there used to be. We promise. Come to the Bean. Stabbings are up though, so don't bring a knife. All right, sorry Chicago. Body in a tarp in a garage. I did think it was funny. Charlie, like a sweet kid, is like, "Hey, can I help?" And Tech Jason should have just been like, "Yeah, sure. Grab the legs.
yeah.
I mean, grab the bundle of branches on that side."
The antlers.
The antlers. Yes, it's a dead deer. I bet we're here. It has something to do with that dead horse over there. Anyways, all right.
They Bragatti, well done.
Yes, thank you. I have a note in here, and we already talked about it. Fancy coat. Were there other things that you clued in on keeping track of Jason's?
I feel like the rings were helpful. Like our Jason has kind of the rubber band or twine ring that he kind of puts around his finger. I think when he talks to the Jason at the bar, he has like a black like rubber ring kind of on. I think it's the sweatshirts, it's the hats, things like that they wear. Essentially, there's just little bits and pieces that they kind of tweak to give us as an audience a little bit of assistance.
Sure, the guy not getting any assistance is the barkeep. He's like, that was quick. And then, like, I don't know. This barkeep, I like this actor. I was just as confused as he was, but it was played well.
Yeah, the look on his face was absolutely fantastic as he looks over to the table and was like, wait a minute, what's going on? You have a twin brother? But just doesn't pick it up. He just keeps doing his job. It's great.
Right. Yeah, I guess your twin brother's a longshoreman and you just came from the Met Gala based on
Yes.
your sweet, sweet coat.
Uh-huh.
They get into conversation over beers, which, I mean, once again, great acting from left Joel Edgerton. Right Joel Edgerton, I didn't feel like was really giving it his all, but, whatever. How do they give an Emmy to either one of them in this show? Do they can he get nominated for multiple things for this show because he's playing different characters? I don't know. Maybe that's...
Yeah, and when you get the Emmy, they just cut it up in a bunch of pieces.
That's true. Because, well, it's made of chocolate, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't... These parts of shows like this is where it all falls apart for me, when they're talking about, every choice we made created a different Jason, and so there's, infinite Jasons. That's when my brain starts to hurt, and I'm just like, man, show, I hope you keep it to a, countable number, maybe 10. But Tech Jason killing off a lot of them helps, so no complaint there. But, yeah, I this conversation made my head hurt.
Yeah, when essentially they say, we all can't be Jason 1. I think when the other guy's essentially positioning and kind of giving us as an audience some general understanding of the science or what's going on, essentially just creating some sort of Jason pyramid scheme where, you get 2 friends and they get 2 friends, and now we've got an infinite number of people.
Yep.
It was difficult, I think, to kind of follow, but I like how this story kind of ends, essentially, with I guess let me ask this question first. So all these Jasons that are coming back are all still the same ones that initially went into the box. So all these Jasons that are coming back now are just, it's like him and Daniela, or him, not in Daniela, him and Amanda went in, and now based on every door they opened, every decision he made, everything that they did in that box, all these other Jasons are now kind of coming back, right? It's not Jasons from other worlds, because otherwise they would have no reason to be here.
No, it's all a form of the Jason that was kidnapped by Tech Jason and went into the box. Yes. Yeah. So essentially we could be rooting for all of these Jasons because we do want Teacher Jason to get back to his life. Mm-hmm. However, how do we choose? Once again, this is why I think it goes down to a court custody case. That's my guess, but I've just been watching Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal, so I'm in the mood for some court dramas.
But what gets crazy here at the end is like the idea of the other Jason he's talking to essentially telling him like, I'm going to take out Jason too. Like that is our prime objective. That's seemingly every one of these Jason's objective is to take this guy out. But then what, right? Because we're going to have another problem after this because now we have a bunch of versions of Jason 1 that feel they have obviously the right to be with their family because they all essentially are their family, Daniela and Charlie. So this is just reiterating the idea that this world is no longer safe for this family, and if Jason's going to get them to be safe, he's going to move somewhere else.
You think ultimately right? He has to take Daniela and Charlie and leave this version?
I don't think there's another way, right? Otherwise, you have to take out all these other versions of yourself, just like the original one did.
Yeah, have you not seen a John Wick movie? Like, yeah, he just kills a bunch of people and then he boards up the box and it's his world again. And sure, like they're gonna ask him about the bodies and maybe he goes to prison for a little while, but eventually, if you kill enough and you can board up the box, it's your world. That's fair.
You've earned it.
You've earned it. It is kind of a last man standing, Bruce Willis type situation,
Yep.
Anyways, that's why I'm interested in the finale, because I don't know where they're going to take this. I don't know how brutal this show will be, and I don't know if the show is going to be like, hey, let's wrap it up in a happy ending, because I don't know. It's been the way they have shot certain characters and killed off certain characters, although they're versions of one, they're not pulling punches. So I'm interested to see where this all goes.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
When Teacher Jason is smoking at the diner, did you clue in on what he was doing? Did it make you mad that you can't smoke a cigar in a diner anymore? Didn't you long for the olden days, Tom, when there was a smoking and a non-smoking section in restaurants? Do you remember that? Do you? I can distinctly remember my parents or my mom mostly being like, when we went into a restaurant, which was rare, being like, oh, we want to be seated in non-smoking, and like. That was a thing, which is incredible to think about. Golly, we used to be a country.
Right. And I remember being in the non-smoking section, but then it was just cut off by like a half wall, so that all the smoke from the smoking section would just go over that half wall and then be right in the non-smoking section.
Yeah.
It didn't really do much to stop the smoke, but it is kind of wild. I do appreciate his comment to essentially the whole diner is like, can somebody have a fine cigar after a lovely meal? First off, I don't think he ate anything. I'm pretty sure he had like coffee and a donut, maybe a donut. I don't know.
Right.
Also, this is not a fine cigar. These are clearly Swisher Sweets.
Yeah, that's true.
Totem pole cigar.
That's a good point.
But it was very funny. I did not know what he was getting up to. I was very confused.
I thought he was trying to establish an alibi. I thought he was like, I'll get a bunch of people to see my face. Like they will make note of me. And then I thought he was going to leave. I did not realize he was going to take the point to get arrested, because he has the very pointedly, he has the bar matches. And so I thought like maybe he'd leave the bar matches, like once again, to just have an alibi of where he had been and where he was during this time. But then your favorite character showed up and arrested him. Were you excited to see this person?
Yeah, our sharpshooter's back. Now, if she is really a detective here, I don't think she would be coming to pick up a guy who's smoking cigars in a diner, right? Like, isn't that just like a beat cop that's going to do this?
Well, Chicago's pretty low on crime. There's not a lot going on. So I think their detectives are mainly used to get cigar users out of diners. I thought it was funny if she had walked in and just been like, he's got a gun, and shot him, like, because John loves to shoot people. I'm surprised he didn't bring it up. He's like, hey, when I saw you, I thought I was going to get shot because you love shooting people. And she's like, how'd you know that? How do you know I like shooting people? He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to say this now because it's important. Daniela in this leather jacket is probably one of the most important pieces of physical art that this world's created. She is rocking that leather jacket in such a way that I may or may not have been shopping for a leather jacket for myself and my spouse. Yes. I don't want to brag, but I own one I don't wear. So why not have two you don't wear? Because we live in Arizona and it's never below 110 degrees. But I don't know if she wore one in Top Gun Maverick. It feels like she was kind of calling Tom Cruise out by wearing this leather jacket in this show, because I know he's watching this show from his Scientology castle.
I do like the idea of her putting on a leather jacket. That's like essentially her detective mode.
Yeah.
Because she's crushing it in this episode.
Yeah. She means business. It's business time, as the Flight of the Conchords would say. All right. Charlie and Tech Jason do a campus visit. This felt shoehorned. It was like, oh, you got to take Charlie to school. And Charlie's like, oh, I thought you were taking me to the University of Chicago. Once again, did Chicago and the University of Chicago get together? And they were like, hey, we've had some bad press. Let's take this show that doesn't have a lot of murdering in it and have people visit our campus, so people who want to go to college here.
Listen, we built this new library. It's pretty dope. We need you guys to film it.
I liked all the times he's like, this wasn't here when I was here. Or he's just like saying things. The conversation where Charlie's like, oh, it's so weird, like one choice you made changed your whole life. Right. I felt like the show was trying to like bring us back to the choices thing and say something profound. I was just like, hey man, let's just get on with this campus visit. Is there some sort of financial aid that's going to be allowed for this? I don't know.
But like, I'm with you though. The idea of like Charlie kind of bringing that up did seem kind of out of character, but it's just essentially to remind us that this is a single choice in this man's life that has caused all this havoc.
Right. And I guess I wasn't surprised because Charlie as a character is very thoughtful. Tom, do you know how we know Charlie is a thoughtful character and a thoughtful kid?
Go on.
The opening of this episode, he's sketching.
That's right.
He's sketching, I think,
got his mom's gene.
The profile of I believe a woman, a buxomy woman, I think, which, maybe be questionable. I don't know. I didn't get a good look at the drawing, but that was the joke that I wanted to make. So I assumed
it was a self-portrait.
Yes,
that's all they do.
Yes, yes. Because Danielle loves a self-portrait. Yeah. No, he's just drawing buxomy woman pictures of his mom. So it gets real weird. All right,
but not his version of his mom, a different multiverse version of his mom. So it's okay.
Yeah. That's right. He watched Top Gun Maverick and had some things to say. This is where the longshoreman with the limp and the burn scars, I'm assuming a shark bit his face, spots them. Once again...
You said longshoreman, though. This is not the same guy he met at the bar.
No, I know, but they're in the same, like, knitted cap.
Okay.
They look like George Clooney, who's so proud to be a gosh darn sword boat captain, or whatever he says. You throw the horn to the lighthouse kid. You make, I don't know, his speech from... I think about his speech from A Perfect Storm almost every morning. When I read it, I have it stapled in my Bible. So another just great chase through books. The foot chases in this show, incredible. I can't. The added element of this one is the guy has a limp, so they walk even slower. I loved all of it.
I mean, it's more like Jason Bourne, right? Than opposed to Shoreman Jason.
Jason Bourne? Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, the action. It was so action-packed. I mean, this is more like a Jason Bourne movie than, Longshore Jason and Tech Jason running after each other.
I got you. You mean a Doug Liman directed film. Yes. I know exactly what you mean. A John Wick-esque action stunt version. Honestly, it just gave me a panic attack about college libraries and like the times you had to go to them because something serious needed to happen.
True.
And I thought after watching this episode, I would have one of those I didn't turn an exam in and get my college degree dreams that are still occurring after I graduated 40 years ago. You know, like I don't know what's going on with my brain, but I won't go to therapy, so we'll never know. He kills this guy in the bathroom, right? He's dead.
Yes. Yeah, he disposes of this guy not as cleanly as the other one, although he hasn't fully disposed of the first body yet either. It's still just sitting in the trunk of the essentially his son's car. Well, I guess it's not his son's car. This is technically his car, right? At this point.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Once you put a body in a car, it becomes your car. That's
okay,
it's like squatters' rights. Once you put a murdered victim body in a car, that car becomes yours.
Well, technically, he is the body in the car, so yeah, it's definitely his car.
Boom, he's still in it. He's like, officer, I never left. And the officer's like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, you get it, right? And he like winks at him. And he's like, I've been 9/10
of the law.
Yeah, he's like, I've been in this car the whole time. And the officer's like, sir, open the trunk. Let's go back to the bowels of the library, though, because Tom, you're in the bowels of a college library. You're studying real hard for, I don't know what your degree was in. I'm assuming chiropractic. So you're like studying the human body in all of its forms. You're sketching buxomy chiropractic patients, and you need to go to the bathroom. So you go to the bowels library bathroom, and someone is in the stall. There's one stall, and you really need to go. That person's in there. How long do you wait before you're like banging on that door? How long do you wait before you discover it's just a dead body sitting on a toilet that's been killed by its other dimension twin?
Oh, I don't wait at all. I see that door's closed. I'm moving on to the next bathroom. I mean,
you don't like a warm seat?
No, I don't. I don't appreciate a warm seat. Although this one will probably get warm and then get cold pretty quickly. This guy's being found by the janitorial services.
Oh, you think so? It's good. It's not going to be a pushy student that's like, "Hey, man, I gotta go," and then okay, that's fair. That's fair. If you were to ask me the same question, I would probably wait 30 minutes, and I would strike up conversation with the guy. My first comment would be, "Hey, those are really nice shoes. Where'd you get them?" That would probably be where I led, and then my next would be, "I like that hat, and that watch is pretty cool." Because at this point, I've climbed on the like divider, and I'm staring down at them because I like to look people in the face when I make conversation with them. You can't do that if they're inside a stall. So,
is this going to eventually be like a Weekend at Bernie's thing? Like you're going to know potentially he's dead, but you're still going to have conversations with him and like prop him up like a marionette?
Yes, but that's mainly because every night I have a Weekend at Bernie's dream, just like the college exam one. And so I would love to live that truth, which is carrying a corpse around. Speaking of carrying a corpse around, are we at the cop yet? We've already talked about the cop.
Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, I mean, Charlie is going to get arrested, a ticket. I don't know if it's the campus cop or whatever, but I love the idea of Charlie hitting like a speed bump and hearing something. He thinks he like ran over something, or he thinks he popped a tire or something, but not realizing that, oh yeah, there's a body in the trunk and that's what's making this noise. I thought it was kind of funny, but essentially gets pulled over by this cop because of him parking, I guess, in the middle of the street. But I couldn't help but think, I think at this point in the episode, I paused to go like get a drink or something and just couldn't help but like think of the hilarity of this situation of the son getting pulled over, having to pop up in the trunk, and it's his dead dad in the car. Like, that's a difficult one to I don't know,
explain away. Yeah. He's like, well, I was like, oh, it'd be great if the show did that, because Tech Jason has even more of a reason to be like, this world's not for me. I'm out. And just go to the box and pop smoke. He's like, I'll find a different Daniela somewhere else. I don't know. I made a note here that Tech Jason has killed more people than polio, but I don't know. I don't know if that's actually true. Mm-hmm. He does rescue Charlie, and I don't know. We could have had so many funny scenarios with that. I do like how Tech Jason's just like, drive, Charlie, drive. Like, let's just go. Don't look back. Go. And he's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, my body is in the trunk right now. Let's go. And he's like, Dad, you're talking
That's not a
crazy.
metaphor.
And the dad and Tech Jason's like, you want me to give you peanuts and ice cream again, son? Drive.
Open the glove compartment.
Open the glove compartment. It's melty, but it'll still kill you. All right? All right. So we have Daniela bailing out Jason 1. And I thought their reunion was sweet, but also you're like, oh, yeah, Daniela should be a little bit weirded out by all of this, which she is. And I thought she does a great job of a little bit suspicious, a little bit confused, a little bit like, what's going on here? She says the thing that everyone you think you would say, where she goes, you know how crazy that sounds, right? Like,
Yes.
you know, like repeat it again and you sound like a crazy person, which his clever comeback is call me right now. And
I thought this whole thing was like brilliant. Like, I always kept thinking about like, how was he going to do this? How was he going to explain this to Daniela? So his idea of going to jail, getting bailed out, knowing this is the only way he can kind of get her separated, and then doing that follow up of saying like, hey, where did we stay when we were married, or whatever else, or we did that honeymoon. I don't know what it was, but very, very clever and a nice way for him to show that or make her a little bit suspicious about the Jason she's been living with.
Right. They do the whole ask him about the lake house where we used to send each other letters through time and space.
Yes.
What color was the house? And she's like, I'm pretty sure you're talking about the Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock movie. And he's like, nope, never saw it. And she's like, that's crazy. It's a really good movie. And he's like, I'm not crazy. I think I just proved it because you just talked to me. And so they establish a safe word here, which I think is important because Daniela's like, I've got to go get Charlie. He says the most Chicago thing ever. We'll meet at the Bean later. Well,
he has her choose it, which I think is clever too.
Right.
Like, he can't choose the spot, or else another Jason could choose the same one.
Right. And so she's like, oh, I'll think of the most random place that no one's ever met at. And she's like, the Bean. I've been to Chicago, I think like once in my life. We met other people at the Bean. They were like, hey, they were traveling too. Let's meet at the Bean. We met at the Bean. So we had a different safe word, though. My safe word, Tom, is always honky-tonk badonkadonk because, well, they say a safe word. It's supposed to be something you can easily work into a sentence. Like, but something that you don't use all the time. Like, so it's got to be a little bit unique, but also not surprising when you hear it. So that's why my safe word would be honky-tonk badonkadonk, because you can work it into any conversation, really.
That's a pretty good one. Mine's always been tippy-toe.
Tippy-toe. I love it so much.
I was confused when she said meet at the Bean. I didn't even like put it together that is like a famous landmark in Chicago. I just assumed it was like a coffee bean.
Yeah.
Place I used to always go to as a couple, but yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Sense.
I also think that for Chicago, a chrome bean is a weird thing. Like, I don't know what they paid that artist to do that installation, but he is laughing all the way to the bank. He's just like, I can't believe. Maybe there's some like crazy story about it and like it has some super deep meaning. I don't think it does. In fact, I don't think it's supposed to be a bean. I think that's just what people call it. If it's literally a chrome bean that's just, I don't know, 15, 20 feet high that people go and stare at and take pictures next to, I think that artist is the greatest artist in the world because I'm sure they probably paid him money.
I mean, it's why they call it Beantown, right?
Yeah, that's right. Beantown. Yep.
Beantown, Chicago.
Home of the Chicago Red Sox, playing at Beantown. All right, their safe word's Jupiter, which is a weak safe word, and I didn't care for it. Also, I didn't care that it wasn't used at the appropriate time here in a couple of scenes. We have Daniela goes back to Tech Jason and Charlie. He's being really weird. He's like, you're going to go get a suitcase? Are you going to go get a suitcase? It looks like you're not getting a suitcase, but we just talked about you getting a suitcase. Are you going to go? You're on your way to go get that suitcase? That suitcase downstairs? Okay, the one with the handles and the wheels? You're going to go get the suitcase? I thought she was going to punch him in the face right then and there. Instead, she just pushes him down the stairs. Body count 1 for Daniela. Boom.
Yeah, so fantastic. I'm kind of bummed you didn't do what you said in the outline because you said Tech Jason is pushy. Speaking of pushy, Daniela pushes Jason down the stairs. I thought that was just bravo. Brilliant writing.
No. Too easy. Too easy. I don't go for the cheap laughs, Tom. That's not why we're here. That's not what I do. You know me. I'm deep thought, Julian. All right?
Now
Always have been. Honky tonk, badonkadonk.
This Jason is unconscious, right? Like, this can't be the end of our main, like, protagonist Jason or antagonist Jason, right?
Oh, no bad guy in the history of bad guys has ever died being pushed downstairs. It's just, you guys can at me at our MySpace. Every time someone is pushed down the stairs at this point during the conflict, you think they're done, they're going to come back up with a knife or a chainsaw or a hockey mask, and they're going to honky-tonk, badonkadonk everyone,
I mean, technically, that happened to Meryl Streep in Death Becomes Her. She did get pushed downstairs and she did die, but she did come back to life. So I don't know if that counts.
I'm not familiar with Meryl Streep, but...
you haven't seen Death Becomes Her?
No. Does it become us or does it become her?
It becomes her and Goldie Hawn. It's got Bruce Willis. Oh, it's fantastic. You got to go back and watch it.
I liked where you said Bruce Willis. Does he walk over glass barefoot? Because I'll only watch Bruce Willis movies where he walks on glass barefoot.
I don't know. Maybe there's a deleted scene. I haven't seen it in a while.
Does he get pushed down the stairs and then walk on glass barefoot? Because that's what I'm for. No, I think Tech Jason is still with us. I think this is just a momentary setback for him. Also, Joel Edgerton can get the crap beat out of him, and he's just fine. We've seen it throughout the show. So,
And his career.
And his career, where he was warrior, where he warriored all those people. All right, she runs outside. She immediately gets in the car with the wrong Jason. We've established a safe word, and we don't use it. I thought this was absolutely ridiculous. What are we doing? Like, why? He's in a Toyota Camry. Like, it's not even the right brand of vehicle. What are we doing? You're wearing a leather jacket. You're supposed to have the answers, Daniela. I was shouting, Jupiter. I was shouting, honky tonk badonkadonk at my TV screen. And that's my wife froze because she's like, why are you using your safe word? Anyways.
She did just push the other Jason down. So I'm assuming the first Jason she sees, she doesn't know that there are multitude of Jasons, I think, in this world. I don't think that was explained to her. So when she sees another one, and this Jason does seem to be like the Jason that she met. Seemed to have like the same kind of black coat, didn't have like a beanie with a scar in its head or facial scars. So I understand it, but I'm with you. If you establish a safe word, let's use it.
It would have been great if he had got out in his longshoreman outfit, knitted cap, and then when he put his hand on the hood, it was just a hook. And he was like, "Arr, get in the car, Daniela." And she's like, "All right, no use in using the safe word. That's definitely our Jason." And she gets in.
Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Wait, why are you saying it like that? Why are you saying it like that? Oh, that'd be great.
He's like, Jupiter was the name of me boat. She's like, okay, this is our guy. And they live happily ever after. The last episode is just them on the shores of Massachusetts. He kills swordfish and has a hook for a hand, and she paints pictures of herself, and no one buys them because it's Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's true. This word didn't... This isn't like a callback to anything, right? Like, not in like a first episode where they talked about their favorite planets or a bar they like to visit as kids, or like, well, maybe not a bar as kids, but this is new, right? Or
Jupiter?
Yeah.
No, no, it's not a callback to anything else. It's just something she threw out there.
I feel like we might get something maybe in the finale where they.
You
said,
think
like,
there's gonna?
Jupiter
That's what
ascending.
the show is all pointing to. That the safe word means something.
I mean, Jupiter is ascending, so I've seen a movie about it.
That's fair. That's fair. She's just like, listen, my favorite country song is Honky Tonk Badonkadonk, and that's why. That was our dance at our wedding. How do you not remember our safe word? We danced to Honky Tonk Badonkadonk. All right.
I do want to say here, though, before we move to kind of like the finale bit here, like, once they get into this kind of car crash and then they run because they realize this is not their Jason, I feel like it was almost a little too cute that the car crash they get into is with another Jason. That it seemed a little bit too much for me.
Oh no!
Still
At this
fun,
point, I
but-
assumed all of Chicago is only popularized with Jasons. It's just like, hey Jason, what's up, Jason? Hey man, we're
Hi,
all living in
Barbie.
harmony. There's one Daniela, poor girl. She's got to deal with all of these ex-husbands, and Charlie's got to be like, I gotta play catch with another dad. What is going on here? My rotator cuff is destroyed. Like, I did not. I get what you're saying. It is kind of. But I think the idea based on their conversation in the bar is like the choices have narrowed to a point where all of these Jasons would converge because based on their choices, like it would kind of lead to this same moment. So I thought that was interesting. Any other final thoughts on this, or at least this episode, before I'd like to conjecture into the finale in terms of what we think is going to happen?
Yeah, I'm excited to see essentially where they kind of land this plane with only one episode left. But I want to ask you, did you see this coming? Like, I know we got the tease for it in episode 7, and then obviously this one just got bonkers with all these Jasons. But did you see this coming of him being collided in with all these versions of himself, or was this completely out of left field for you?
I don't think it's out of left field. I think you and I discussed earlier in the show whether or not we would just have 2 Jasons or whether or not there would be more. And it makes sense to me based on what this show is pitching to us in terms of the science that we would have more. I did not realize how confused as a viewer I would get. And the show is trying to do something where it's like, hey, each Jason has kind of a physical characteristic so you can
Helps.
kind of track them if you're going to look at their left pinky and see if it has a bandage. So I did not know that it would climax in this way with all of these Jasons, but I'm not bothered by it, and it does like give me several questions leading into the finale. Were you surprised?
I feel like I shouldn't have been. Like, the big poster for this show is essentially like Jennifer Connelly, Joel Edgerton, with like 1,000 different Joel Edgertons behind him. And I always just kind of thought that was more like theoretical. Like, he's going to these different universes. There's a bunch of versions of him. I didn't think that there would literally be a world where they're all colliding and it's just pure chaos. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I almost kind of like that that's almost an Easter egg in like the trailers and the posters about more of these guys coming and converging at the same point. So it was fun. I mean, I still have the same general thought of I don't know how you can satisfactorily land this in a single episode. I'm excited to watch it because I think they've done such a great job so far. But like I said at the beginning, like, this world is just not safe. Like, they have to leave. And I feel like maybe the satisfying thing is for them to go to the same place if Ryan and Amanda are truly in the same utopian version of Chicago. We know there's ampules like left in the storage closet or whatever, because Daniela went there I think at one point, so they know they have a means to travel using the box. But I feel like that's the only logical conclusion, right? You cannot stay here.
Sure. I disagree. I think there are ways that you stay here. I think what you do, first step obviously, is you kill all the other Jasons, and then what you do is you turn the box into some sort of money-making scheme. Now, I've given this a lot of thought. And by a lot of thought, I mean in the last 10 seconds while you were talking and I wasn't listening. I think what you do is you buy like 6-inch bulletproof plexiglass and you slap it over the opening to the box in such a way that the door can open. And so those Jasons can like come into the world, and then maybe you set up like a TikTok camera or like a live stream, like a Twitch live stream. And then people pay to like watch as these Jasons just keep appearing. They see the glass, they like touch the glass, maybe they try and break through, they all look a bit different. Maybe like you pump in some like music every time they come in, maybe lights. I don't know. Maybe there's a slot where you can drop in like tear gas or something. I don't know. I haven't thought it all the way through, but I think you film every Jason that comes through. You don't let him into the world. Like, it's impossible for them to get in. Eventually they close the door and they go away. But I think just like constant Jason showing up all the way until they're old, gray, and dead. Like, I think that would be super fun.
I like the idea of just digging a hole right in front of the box, and then like putting like a rug or something over it, and then just having it be a bottomless pit of Jasons.
They just fall in, die. You'd have to clear the bodies out over time because otherwise they would smell. That's a good point.
Depends on how deep you build that hole, man.
Or you do a limbo bar, and only the most limbo-y of the Jasons gets through. Like, if they can get by it. If they're the limbo champ, you let them live. If not, I don't know. You let them fall into Spike Hole like you created. A lot of ideas. Just, there's no bad ideas in a brainstorm, which we're doing right now.
Yep.
Let's talk prediction for the finale. Your prediction is they leave this world. They have to find their own utopia because this one is just, as the kids like to say, messed up.
I feel like, I think that's the only way they can get out of this world. I don't think they can stay. I also feel like as a family we've gotten so much like backstory about like loss and things that they have lost as a family. Like maybe they do find, I just don't know how this works, right? Like even if they do find a world that maybe still has Max living in it, like you can't just, we saw in the very beginning, like we have a Jason taking over another Jason's life. You can't just take over somebody else's life unless they travel to Chicago, tape up the box, and then go to Mexico, and they live out a life on the run. Like I don't get how it works.
Sure. All right. So this is going to make for poor TV, but this is how a reasonable person would handle this. I'm gonna step by step at how the finale should go. I don't think this is how it's going to go because it's bad TV. Teacher Jason, our original dude, goes to the box and he tapes it up. So no other Jasons can enter the world. He does quick fix, whatever it is, limbo bar, plexiglass, closes it. And then he takes Daniela and he puts her in some sort of like public situation where all of the Jasons are going to converge. She is the cheese in the mousetrap. All these Jasons show up. So we've gathered all the Jasons. Teacher Jason's like, listen guys, we got to figure this out. I've got a bunch of ampules. You all need to go back to your world. We've got Tech Jason here who knows how to work this, the original bad guy. We're not going to kill him yet. He's going to explain to you all how to get to that point, or like how to get back to your world where you made the decision you did so that you don't have to murder another Jason. Tech Jason,
I'm going to interrupt you right.
Go ahead.
These Jasons are all the same Jason. Like they're all different versions of him trying to make his way home. So they don't have original worlds to go back to. This is their original world.
Okay, once again, I'm just spitballing here. It's a brainstorm session, Tom. No bad ideas. Okay. Anyways, so all these Jasons are together. One of them says what you just said. They all get angry. It turns into a stabby stab because even though this meeting was supposed to be no weapons, they've all brought some sort of weird knife that they got at a gun store because they didn't have the right license.
Well, somebody brought Dawn and
What's
shoots that guy. Somebody brings Dawn, and then Dawn shoots that guy.
Dawn shoots everyone in the head. Dawn says, my work here is done. I'm Dawn. Follow me on TikTok. Then she walks away. And then it's just Tech Jason, Teacher Jason. Teacher Jason has to make a bad decision here, which is he murders Tech Jason. All's right with the world. Everyone's dead. Teacher Jason wins. That detective shows up. She's like, hey, what are all these bodies? Teacher Jason's like, here's a 50. Forget it ever happened. And then, she's bribed, so everything's good. That's how the finale should go. Questions?
Okay. Question. I mean, I feel we're probably going to get Detective Mason, right, in the final, or the finale.
Shooting everyone.
Because she has already shown suspicion on Tech Jason throughout this season, or I guess throughout kind of the latter half here. I'm trying to think of other characters we haven't seen that would be interesting to see come back. I mean, Amanda's essentially, I think, written off. Like, she could maybe be in the same world as Ryan, and maybe they could find a way back. But I almost kind of think that was poetic in itself, that we don't need to see original Ryan or Amanda again. But it would be interesting if they bring them back. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm open. Like,
I think that detective, she shows up. She's like, listen, I've been to 3 diners. I've arrested 3 guys smoking cigars. I'd like to get back to murder investigations. And then Amanda shows up. Amanda shoots everyone. She's like, hey, Jason, remember that world where ice cream came in edible cups? It's pretty great. Let's go. And then they go. And Charlie, I don't know. He becomes some sort of artist / RAV4 rally car driver. That would be my guess for Charlie.
I'm in.
All right. For those of you that are still listening, we're sorry. You can reach us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. If you have a finale prediction, we'd love to hear them. We will be more than happy to. What's that? Oh, yeah. If you've read the book, we don't have any interest in knowing what's going on. We would like to give a shout out to Jennifer. Jennifer wrote us a very nice email and pointed out some things that we did not connect with on episode 7. She mentioned that she was frustrated that Tech Jason only flossed 1 tooth. Apparently in the flossing scene, he really focused on 1 tooth, and that bothered her. And since she emailed us to tell it, I'm also bothered by it, Jennifer. So we connect with you on that pain. So
I'm assuming he's like, they had ribs that night for dinner, and he just got a little bit in that tooth. That's all he was doing. One and done.
Ribs is the thing you think of when flossing comes to mind. That's the one that you struggle with, not like popcorn or corn or cornbread or corn flour or corn flakes. Those things are not what comes to mind when you think about flossing.
Nope, ribs for me, man.
Just ribs for you.
Ribs.
All right, must be a nice life. Tom, what else did I miss?
Yeah, follow us on the socials at Twitter or Instagram at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. You can send us some of your quick theories there. But again, man, like, I've had such a great time with this show. I really wasn't sure what to expect outside of just knowing that I like the actors and the people that are in the show. I mean, we really haven't been steered wrong for most of the Apple shows that we've been doing. Apple, I think, is just crushing it in this category and letting creative people do their thing. So I'm excited, man. And I don't know if this is a one-and-done show. I'm kind of, like we mentioned earlier, I'm kind of hoping it is. I don't know if we need a second season, but this is a show that has infinite realities, and you likely could do a second season. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be with Jason. Like, maybe they do solve his arc, but you can do a second season that takes place in the same universe and somebody else is using the box and tell a different story. So I've had a great time with it. This might be, again, one of these shows that I'll watch the show, realize it's based off of a book, and then go back and pick up the book and see how that all went. Because I did the same thing with Silo and very, very much enjoyed it.
Sure. I did the same thing with the 10 Commandments. I think if Joel Edgerton gets wind of the fact that since he's a member of the Screen Actors Guild, you get paid for every character you play. I think right now he's pitching to Apple that season 2, he plays all of the characters. He plays Daniela, he plays Charlie, he plays every version of himself because he's got to put in a pool in his Malibu house. Well, he's Australian, so his Melbourne house, which is right next to the Healers. Yes. So yes, I would assume. Honestly, I hope the show has been like watched by people, but I hope we've got one season because I don't know if I could, if I have the brain power for season 2 of this show and a bunch of Jasons. But I've enjoyed it. I look forward to the finale. For Team Binge, I have been Julian,
and I have been Penultimate Tom. We'll see you in the finale, everybody.